In this exercise, we're going to take the bottom half of the feather, we're going to flip it to make the top half, and then we're going to fuse the outermost lines into a single continuous shape. I've saved my progress as bottomfeather.ai, found inside the 04 line art folder. And now what I'd like you to do is marquee around all of these bottom feather paths like so. You don't want to include the shaft in your marquee. You want to keep it down here, and that'll select this horizontal line as well as the 4 diagonals. Now, we're going to grab the Reflect tool, which you can get by pressing the O key, you may recall. You may also recall that the way to use it is to Alt-click or Option-click along the axis of reflection. And that happens to be this horizontal guideline right there. And while you can Alt-click or Option-click anywhere on the guideline that you want, I suggest that you do so on an anchor point. That'll just ensure that you get the exact snap that you're looking for. So I'm going to Alt-click or Option-click here. And lo and behold, because the last reflection that we applied was across a vertical axis, we're getting a horizontal reflection, which is not what we want at all. And anytime that happens to you, because it can be quite puzzling, where you see completely the wrong result, and you think, maybe I'm using the wrong tool. Instead think, wait a second, I need a horizontal axis in order to perform a vertical flip. And then, don't click OK, click on Copy, so you make a copy of that bottom feather. Now what we need to do is join all these outside edges, including these down here, into a single path. But we don't want these two middle guys to be selected, so I'll switch back to my black arrow tool. And in the future, I'm likely to do that by just pressing the V key. And then you can press the Shift key and click on a path in order to reverse its selection state. So if the path is not selected, Shift-clicking selects it. If the path is selected, Shift-clicking deselects it. So you just need to Shift-click on the path outline that you see. This time you're not going to see a little square next to your cursor, but you are going to see that you're clicking on the outline. So Shift-click here and Shift-click there. I'll Shift-click on them to add them back to the selection. Another thing you can do is Shift-Marquee, like so, and that will deselect them as well. Now I'm going to Shift Marquee around this area in order to add these two paths to the selection, and finally I'll Shift click on this one in order to add it as well. So we have the 6 lines that surround the feather. Now in Illustrator CS4 or earlier, if we wanted to join these paths together, we would have had to select each and every pair of endpoints, 6 pairs of endpoints in all, and join each and every one of those 6 independently, which was an enormous chore. Now you can just go up to the Object menu, choose Path, and choose Join, and all of the endpoints will be fused together. You can also press Ctrl-J or Command-J on a Mac, and this one change inside of Illustrator CS5 has made the line tool so much more accessible because you can just lay down a bunch of line segments and then you can fuse them together, whether you care to use the Arc tool or the Line Segment tool or a combination of the two. You can join arcs to lines and lines to arcs and so forth. All right, anyway, I'll go ahead and choose the command, and notice, just like that, we got corners. So this was before. I'll press Ctrl-Z, Command-Z on the Mac. We were seeing the round caps butting up next to each other. But as soon as I choose Redo Join or press Ctrl-Shift-Z, Command-Shift-Z on the Mac, we get these nice sharp corners because all of our points have been fused and we have one single continuous shape. Now, those of you who are old-timers, you've been using the program long enough not to trust the join command because you never knew if it was going to take 2 points that were just microscopically apart from each other and draw a straight segment between them. You can check your work. You can switch to the Direct Selection tool, click off the shape to deselect it, find that anchor point right there, and click and drag it. And that is proof that we have just one anchor point at that location. And the fact that we're getting sharp corners is proof that we have anchor points at the other locations as well. So press Ctrl-Z, Command-Z on the Mac to undo that modification. Now, if you want to, I'll go ahead and press the V key to switch back to the black arrow tool. You could click on these guys, click on one, shift-click on the other, and join them together as well. And if you do that, I'll press Ctrl-J or Command-J on the Mac in order to join those points. We'll see what happens. Notice that I get a straight segment drawn at this location here, but I don't get one down at the bottom, and I'm not sure why that is. And now I want to check to see if I've joined these paths accurately. I'll go ahead and switch back to the Direct Selection tool, click off the path, find that anchor point, it's right there, drag it to a different location, and sure enough, that one got fused together. And the other one must have too, because now I'm seeing this continuous path outline. This happens to be an open path at this point, but it really doesn't matter for our purposes, so that's fine. I'll press Control-Z, Command-Z on the Mac to undo that modification. Now, you can't join the interior path to the exterior path because that just wouldn't reconcile. We've got a closed path on the outside with a thick stroke and an open path on the inside with a thinner stroke. And that is how you go about completing these feather paths here inside Illustrator CS5.